All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Parental Playbook Podcast. And I am joined today by Dr. Tara Turner, who is the founder and creator of HBCUElite.org, which is an organization designed to addressing the lack of exposure and resources in HBCU athletics. And Dr. Turner, as an alumni of an HBCU, this is so frustrating to me that we have to do this, but you are doing a phenomenal job at it, and you've got a camp coming up for women basketball players, college women basketball players. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our second year that we will be hosting Elite Hooper, which is the name of our women's basketball camp, where we bring in some of the top HBCU women's basketball players. So like last year, we had players from Howard. So the women's basketball player of the conference for the MEAC, Z, she actually attended camp last year. So for the SIAC, Miles College one, we had two young ladies from Miles at camp. And then for the SWAC, we had one young lady from Southern there. So we try to touch all the different conferences and make sure that we have representation from all of them. And so, yeah, it's pretty exciting. We have 4 days, 3 nights. We partner with Overtime Elite. So they allow us to use their gym, which is such a beautiful facility. The young ladies get a chance to go tour that. And then we have 2 on-court sessions, and then we have the off.
Oh, that is so nice. Tell me a little bit about how this started. What, created this fire under you?
So HBCU Elite in general started when I was the head women's tennis coach at Clark Atlanta, and I had won the conference championship my first year. We went undefeated. I was super excited, and I had to go recruit 2 new young ladies. And when I went to the business manager, I'm like, okay, what's my budget? And so I'm excited. I've been talking to a young lady in California, one young lady in Florida, and she's like $842. So I'm like, no. Okay, so each trip I have 840. So she's like, no, total. And I'm like, okay. And so when I started talking to other coaches, even those that had like higher recruiting budgets, we started looking at scholarship opportunities or just options and resources for their players. We were all lacking.
Right.
And so I think I realized we must be like waiting for a savior. And a lot of our HBCUs have been around since the 1860s,
Hmm.
1880s. The savior's not coming. We have to do something ourselves. And so I decided to see what I could do. And so that's how I ended up forming HBCU Elite and started in 2020. And then 2021, we hosted our first football camp.
Nice.
Field days. It started with myself and Quincy Avery. We brought in 16 quarterbacks and we put that camp together. And I put that camp together in 16 days.
Wow.
And so it just grew from there. And then I started getting an itch wanting to do something for women's basketball. And I was invited to be in a panel out in Dallas when the women's Final Four was out there. And it was a whole bunch of Black women in sports. And I told them then I was going to end up having an all-star game for HBCU women's basketball. And I was trying to get that going and I couldn't really put all the pieces together. And then I said, let me stick to what I know. And as soon as I dropped the all-star game idea and decided to do a camp, I got 2 grants within a week. And I said, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so last year we were able to host our first camp.
Wow, nice, nice.
Thank
And I know
you.
the young ladies really appreciate it. I know the guys appreciate it too for the football camp. It's funny to me that when you look at the NFL, the history of the NFL, the greatest players have come from HBCUs. Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley, Walter Payton, Jackson State. I mean, and the list goes on and on. Why so underappreciated when it comes to the professional levels? I don't get it.
Yeah, I think because of access,
Mm,
there is, on our end, I think there is a hesitancy to send our top athletes to HBCUs. When you look at access, when you look at the sports med side of things, I don't know if you remember a few years ago, one of the schools in the SWAC was literally going to have to cancel a game because they did not have sports med available. And so when you look at stuff like that, and when you look at, unfortunately, it's inevitable that players are going to get hurt.
Right.
and what that recovery looks like, how quick they're able to get into surgery, all of that stuff affects the trajectory of the career. And so I think when you're looking at the sports that are contact, especially those high levels, those top players, it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to choose HBCUs. But I do think now there's a lot more resources being put into our institutions. We have a lot more partnerships. And I think that's putting us in a position where we are going to be able to compete. We know the talent is there. We know the
Right.
talent is there, but being able to compete and be seen.
Mm,
But when you look at the fact the past, 2 years, there hasn't been a single player that's been drafted. They'll pick them up
yeah.
as free agents, so
Right.
one of ours from camp got picked up as a free agent, but they won't draft them. And so when you're looking at your career and now, especially with the NIL opportunities, it's difficult.
It's
It's
hard.
difficult.
Yeah. The play your way up strategy for parents is something that I'm a big proponent of
Mhm.
because I believe the HBCUs can benefit greatly from that strategy. You have Terrence Mathis at Morehouse. You have a really good, solid program at Clark. You come there, you play your 2 years. Now you've got some video that you can shop at a major college. You've played against college talent. You've mastered the academics. Why do you think it's so hard to convince our guys to do that and to engage in that strategy? I'm trying to convince parents, to do it
Yeah.
because I mean, I think it's a great way to get to the ultimate goal if you want to play D1.
Yeah, I don't think it's as difficult anymore because I think a lot of parents and a lot of players are realizing we're not getting picked up straight out of high school. Even if, we were a 4-star recruit before, even a 3-star recruit, you could get picked up and play behind somebody at a D1 school if you had the talent, or go to a D2 and transfer over. But now it's almost like what JUCOs used to be. We are the stepping stone. And so when I talk to a lot of athletes and I look at them, even the ones from camp, a lot of them are the top athletes when you're looking at basketball and football. So one of our young ladies, one that I just told you about from Howard,
Mhm.
who was, player of the conference, she's going to Rutgers now.
Wow. Okay.
And so when you're looking at some of our top football players, they ended up going to these mid-major, or even these Power Four institutions that are able to give them a
Mm,
bag right now
yeah.
while they're playing,
Right.
and create other visible resources and visible opportunities for them. But it's also that realization that when you go to those institutions, you're not going to be the star anymore. They
Right.
might give you six figures, but you're going to sit behind somebody.
Who
And
they're
if they
giving seven figures to.
Right, and if they get hurt or they're tired and they need somebody to step in for 2 plays, maybe the entire game, come on in.
Right. Right. Yeah, it is a difficult landscape to maneuver now, which is why what you are doing is so important. You are really bringing out some of the top coaches to help these young people too. And we're talking about on the field and off the field. But let's talk about on the field first. You have at Route Master on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, yes, Hilton Alexander.
And this is a great opportunity for quarterbacks and receivers.
Absolutely. And so even, our specialists, we added specialists last year. I was very strategic. Like I said, we started with quarterbacks and we added receivers. Then we added DBs because I was looking at the positions. I started with quarterbacks because when I started camp 5 years ago, the mindset when it came to Black quarterbacks was a little bit different. It was still that we don't have the IQ to play quarterback. That's shifting a little bit now, but
Right.
that's kind of how it began. And so being from Tampa, I grew up with Mr. Parnell Dickinson, who went to Mississippi Valley State and who was the first Black quarterback for the Bucks. So I know we can play quarterback.
Absolutely.
And so when I connected with Quincy, I asked him how many sessions would it take for a quarterback to get better if they worked with you? And he said one. So I thought he was joking. And I was like, no, I'm serious. I'm thinking about, he was like, one session. And so that's how we got camp going that first year. And
Nice.
then when we added receivers, it was just the natural progression. Then when we looked at the position that the most HBCU players that were in the league were at, that was the DB position. So then I added DBs. And then I was thinking about our current landscape, and you can go to an HBCU football game and watch them try. It can be 4th and 6, and they're going for it because they don't have a kicker. They don't have a kicker. And so that's when Coach Oglesby, which he played at South Carolina State, and he was the first HBCU kicker in the NFL to score. He coaches specialists, the kickers,
Right.
punters, and long snappers. So he said he'd be willing to come in. And so although position didn't make sense to a lot of people, I knew what I was trying to do there because we struggle in that space.
Right.
So, mhm.
Right. And you know what? We struggle in that space because we don't have the coaching, right? And and that's so important these days, especially in the era of specialization. You really do need to go to more than just practice. You
Absolutely.
need these extra days. And while your camp is 4 days, you really do have a chance to make some significant strides in your game. And I'm sure you're getting that feedback from the players.
Yeah, I am. They're always so thankful for the work that we do on the field, but I always tell them the work that we do on the field, that's the easy part. We know you all are talented. That's why you're here. You're the best of the best. But I like to develop them, off the field as well. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Let's get to that. I was fortunate enough to stop by one of your sessions just recently. And, my program is dedicated to helping parents understand what their student athletes are going through so they can communicate, connect, and support them. Our parents have no idea what
Hmm.
these young people are going through in this society at this specific time. Is that why you do so much related to off the field activities and mental health?
Absolutely. So we started with the things that I could see at first.
Mhm.
So the media training, because there was a lot of ums and twisting hairs and holding heads down when they're doing interviews. And if you are looking to go to the next level, they look at all of those things.
Yeah.
And so I started with like the media training. I had somebody come in and kind of do a workforce session and talk to them about entrepreneurship. I always had a mental health session, but this year I was extremely strategic because unfortunately in May, one of our former campers, William Davis, who was playing at Sam Houston at the time, committed suicide. And getting that call from his former teammates, that's that Sunday morning, it was heartbreaking. And, when I had a meeting with the guys to talk to them about everything and just, I know you're going to start seeing this on social media. Some of them had shared this was not something that was as far fetched as it should have been.
Right.
There was also other people who had thoughts of similar behaviors. And so this year at camp I wanted to be extremely strategic, and instead of doing our rotations, kind of dedicate the whole day off the field to mental health. And so that's when I had Jaden come in from UGA. He is getting his PhD, and he is licensed in mental health performance and works directly with athletes. He's worked with with the athletes at FAMU and a couple other institutions as well. And then we went into the rotations, which you got to, before that, we actually did yoga, just something as well to kind of that they don't think about, is something that helps clear their mind, give them a time to sometimes relax, but also sometimes just kind of push yourself to work through something. And then you got a chance to kind of witness a little bit of the rotations, where we were in the small group and then the Built on Brotherhood session. And those, as you experienced, were extremely powerful, listening to some of the things that they shared, that they've dealt with, that they're still dealing with, and really just trying to provide a space where they can see you're not dealing with this alone. You
Right.
all are all kind of dealing with this. And now you have this guy next to you who you have always looked at as a competitor, but now you realize we have this in common. And so now I have a brother versus just a competitor, which is extremely important to me, which is why we also started the Built on Brotherhood session as
Yeah.
well. So the whole camp, they get closer and closer together. But by that last day, you see them talking to people they had never spoken with before, and in those groups and really huddled up having those conversations, because the things that were shared, they don't really have a space to have those conversations and to be
Heavy
able to
stuff.
support each other.
Yeah.
And that's why I concluded that. I wrapped that up with the mentorship dinner, which was, this is our first year doing that, but that was extremely important to me because I just wanted them to know that there are Black men out there, whether they played sports, they didn't play sports, who want them to be successful. If football continues, if it ends, like, that's not your identity. Whoever who you are is more important than the sport that you play.
Right.
And so that's why I wanted to do that mentorship dinner. And yeah.
Yeah, it was good stuff. And, I was so impressed with the young men, especially the quarterbacks, but all of the young men were so dialed in, and really paying attention and really looking to see what they could take home from this experience. And, so often we hear about how our young men, are not paying attention, not taking things to heart. These young men were serious about this weekend with you. And that has to make you feel good and really give you a sense of purpose.
It does, because through it all of the cancellations and all of the things that happen as we are leading up to camp, and it seems like everything that can go wrong goes wrong as we're leading into camp. But when that happens, I always say, okay, it's because of the impact that we're going to be making, and somebody is trying to stop that. So just really focusing on what we're doing, and then to hear the guys kind of just share. Like I had one player share that he was basically avoiding me. Like his coach had told him about camp. I had called him about camp, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm coming," but he really wasn't going to come. And then the one of the guys who had been to camp before him, who played in the same position, was like, "No, you got to go. You got to go. You got to lock in." And he was just so grateful that he ended up coming, because he had no idea what to expect, but it wasn't that.
Wow.
And so to hear those stories often, and then, when I call coaches and it's camp time and they're like, "How many do I get?" It's not, when I was first calling, and it's, what is HBCU Elite? What are you trying to do? Now it's, how many can I bring? We're ready,
Right.
so it's exciting. It's
Wow.
exciting.
That is awesome. Tell me how folks can get in touch with you and, can donate, can offer their services, because I would imagine, the more resources you get, the more of an impact you can have.
Absolutely. So our social media, first of all, is HBCU Elite org. That is the easiest way to see in real time what we're doing. So, we got a chance to do our first tennis event this year, which was super exciting
Right.
for me. Coming from a tennis background, we partnered with the USTA for that. Our women's basketball, that's actually coming up this weekend, the 11th through the 14th. And so, because we are a nonprofit, everything that we do is built on grant writing, partnerships, sponsorships. So, anyone who is interested in supporting us, we would love that. HBCUEliteMerch.org or HBCUElite.org. And then our social media handle is HBCUElite.org. And that is the best way to get in contact with us if you're trying to support, if you have a session that you might be interested in facilitating based on some things that you've seen, some research that you've conducted. If you want to sponsor a meal, anything like that, yeah, we are always looking for that. We would love to have you.
That is awesome. We look forward to supporting you in the future. Do you have any plans for expansion next summer?
We're trying to get there. We're trying to get there.
Okay.
So it's like I was just saying, it's all about the funding. So we have some ideas that are beyond camp, actually, not even for next summer, but. And I know you do some stuff with the mental health space also, but what we're trying to do is on our website basically create a bank so that licensed mental health professionals who have hours that they don't mind basically donating, they
Perfect.
can put in there like what their areas of focus are, what state they're in, all of that stuff. And then HBCU athletes who are in need of mental health services, specifically with people who have a background in sports, because a lot of the institutions that have the mental health support don't have anyone specific in the sports industry, so we can connect them and be able to get them services free of charge. So we
Awesome.
are extremely, extremely excited about that, and trying to find some grants and some partnerships that we can get so that we can really get the ball rolling with that, and literally just have a directory of offerings and services for our student athletes, because they deserve that and they need it.
They definitely do need it. Yeah, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out tonight to tell us more about HBCUElite.org, where you can go for more information, and reach out to Dr. Tara Turner to assist in providing more exposure to our great HBCU athletes. It's a labor of love. Of course, you can count on me anytime. As I mentioned, our athletes mental health mentor program, where we talk about things like goal setting, positive self-talk, mindset, because I'm not a licensed psychologist, but I do like to share some of the things that I picked up that I know can make young men successful in their athletic and academic pursuits and beyond. So anyone that goes to HBCU Elite is free. All they have to do is mention that they attended your camp and Dr. Turner told me to call or email. So just reach out to
Absolutely.
us as well. So we want to do whatever we can to support you as well.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Dr. Turner, take care, and we'll keep following your progress. And best of luck at the women's camp coming up in just a couple days.
Thank you so much. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
we'll
Have a
see you
good one.
soon. Best.